All right, so today, of course, is the biggest political day on the American political calendar. People across the United States of America are stepping out in their millions. They're heading to the polling stations and they're casting the vote to elect their next president. So let's put the spotlight on the battleground state of Arizona, where the voters will also be choosing the future of abortion rights in the state. Take a look at this report as to how the battleground state of Arizona could swing the American presidential contest.
In the race to the White House, Arizona is one of the 7 swing states that could determine the outcome of this increasingly tight race. It is situated along the US-Mexico border and has a total of 11 electoral votes. With a population of 7.9 million, Arizona traditionally has been a Republican stronghold, until US President Joe Biden secured a narrow victory in 2020 by 10,000 votes. Biden's win marked only the second time that a Democratic presidential nominee has triumphed in Arizona since the 1960s. Before Biden, Bill Clinton had won the battleground state in 1996. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is hoping to bring the state and its 11 electoral votes back into the GOP's hands on November 5th. Pollsters are calling Arizona as one of the toss-up states, and it is pivotal for the race to the White House, as 8 of the past 12 presidential winners have won the Grand Canyon state. Some of the issues that dominate the state are preserving democracy, economy, immigration, and abortion. Voters in Arizona blame US President Joe Biden for the rising inflation and the immigration crisis. Meanwhile, some people have already cast an early voting ballot for Harris, favoring her policies on abortion rights and international affairs. Arizona will also vote on the state's Right to Abortion initiative, which could codify abortion rights in the state's constitution.
You know, a lot of people, he's very controversial. It's Donald Trump. Personally, I don't listen to him talk. There's a lot of his stuff personally I don't like about him, but I believe the economy was better under him. The inflation's really bad. I think Kamala is completely unqualified for the job. And so, you know, main thing for me is immigration and inflation and the economy. So I'm going to vote for Donald Trump.
I intend to vote for Kamala. Why her? I just feel like she has an emphasis on the importance of the general people, and that she has our best interest at heart. And as a woman, I feel that women's rights are slowly being taken away, and I know that she would fight for us as a woman. And I have 2 daughters, and I want their future to be the same opportunities that I had.
Both Harris and Trump have tried to address important issues for Arizona's voters. While Harris has promised that she will sign the bipartisan immigration bill into a law if she wins the election, she has also vowed to crack down on migration. The Democrats have made abortion rights a central message since the US Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade back in 2022. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has made immigration the centerpiece of his campaign appearance in the border state of Arizona, and has further promised mass deportations. The voting pattern of demographic groups in Arizona mirrors the national trends, such as the influence of a gender gap and the impact of younger voters. Arizona's electorate is also changing, which includes a growing Hispanic population that is joining the pool of eligible voters. 1 in 4 voters in Arizona are Latino. The other big change in voting pattern is the large number of people, especially from California, who are moving to Arizona. The Latin community, younger voters and newcomers who have recently moved to the state will play an important role in determining who wins this race to the White House.
All right, now to give us more perspective in terms of what is happening at this moment, we're joined by our correspondent Susan Tehrani, who's joining us live from New York. Susan, tell us, what's the mood like on the ground? Which way does New York vote?
Well, the mood on the ground is one of excitement. You know, in the morning it was a little more crowded around polling stations. That was before people went to work. Of course, schools are closed because often, like the one behind me, they are used as polling stations. And then now that it's in the afternoon, it's about 3 in the afternoon, a little past, people are coming back from work, and you see that, the polling stations are once again getting a little crowded. We did have sort of a time of a lull in between that. And nonetheless, New York votes blue generally. The last time New York voted red was when the country elected Ronald Reagan. So it's been about 40 years more since New York has flipped. I know Republican officials here in New York are continuing to say that, there is a possibility that New York could be in play. It could flip. We're not seeing those numbers as of yet. Projecting it is very difficult. But, we'll know soon enough. Shortly, we just have a few hours left. It's hard to imagine that Election Day is almost finished and then the counting is just going to start beginning.
Susan, you mentioned about how exciting it is and how there is a lot of activity in terms of people stepping out to vote. What is also being reported is the fact that there are volunteers and workers of both of these parties who are stepping out and knocking on the doors of the homes of people and telling them, have you voted or do you want to go out and vote? And here the Democrats seem to have an edge over the Republicans, where the Democrats have put out a number that they've at least knocked on at least 100,000 homes since this morning. How much of an effect do you think that'll have on this very crucial day where people have to step out, go cast their vote, and that is how they can get their candidate to win?
Yeah, Democrats have traditionally just done a lot of what is often termed as ballot harvesting and, going out and trying to get people to vote or registering for them. What's interesting this year is in terms of early voting, a lot more Republicans went and voted early than Democrats. And I suspect the reason that we're seeing what you're mentioning, that people are going door to door right now, is because the numbers for Democrat voters who voted early aren't as high as they were perhaps in 2020 or even before that. Democrats were really known to get out and vote before Election Day. And I think if they're not seeing the numbers be as high as they were, then I think that it's natural for them to, knock doors. I think Kamala Harris did the same, just as a gesture, and she was being filmed where she went and knocked a few doors in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is a crucial state, and I think what you mentioned, we're seeing a lot of that in that state and, of course, other swing states as well. I heard a pollster say that the Democrats need somewhere around 600,000 votes on Election Day in Pennsylvania to be able to turn it blue. So let's see if that happens.
That'll be very interesting to watch out for. Thank you very much indeed, Susan Tehrani, for joining us and getting us those updates. I will, of course, come back to you as our coverage continues through the day. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.